Jared Polin, FroKnowsPhoto.com here with another episode of FroKnowsPhoto RAWtalk. It's episode week number 41. I don't know, I can say week 41. It's episode 41. There were a few weeks where I didn't have a show, Steven. So how are you guys doing? Steven, stop getting text messages during the show.
I'm just too popular. You know?
Steven has to run a clock. He has to run the clock because we've got these cameras that run for 20 minutes.
Well, no, these are, 20 minutes.
They only go
Nikon.
20. Yeah, Nikon. The
Canon,
Nikons go 20. The Canons go 29:30. But yeah, so every 20 minutes we got to get up and reset the certain cameras. We're good to go. Don't worry about that. So I got some housekeeping stuff to go through before we get into the photo news. And the first thing up is that I am looking for some people to review the FroKnowsPhoto Beginner Flash Guide. That's right, the FroKnowsPhoto Beginner Flash Guide is getting close to being finished, and I'm looking for some people to review it. So I'm going to pick a handful that leave comments on Facebook, say, hey, I'd love to review your Flash Guide, or on YouTube, hey, I'd love to review your Flash Guide. I got to say, Steven, Ari watched it, and he's not a photographer per se. He was more of a video guy back in the day, and he said that he feels like he's confident enough in his Flash skills.
He knows everything about Flash.
Just from watching that video, he felt like he could go out and get solid images because it gave him a good fundamental understanding. This is not a sales pitch for the guide right now. That's coming later, but I just wanted to let you know that it's almost there, and it really is. The fundamentals are fantastic that Adam and I teach, and the demonstrations are even better. So we've got that. That's housekeeping number one. Housekeeping number two, don't forget to subscribe on iTunes or wherever you listen to your podcast, because we release them Mondays at 12 noon Eastern time as audio, so you get to listen to them first before anybody else gets to listen to them, and before we put the videos up, usually on Tuesday on YouTube, so you can watch them back. And, oh yeah, if you're subscribed, you're going to get this, not yet, but when we do release it, it's an hour and a half discussion with me at Antonelli Institute. It
was a good discussion too.
You were there.
Yeah.
And you had to edit it.
I edited it,
So you had to listen to it. So I got to talk to these kids. And the only way you're going to get that one is if you are a subscriber. The best place to subscribe, in my opinion, is iTunes, because you can get it on your phone, your iPad, your computer, and it can automatically download and be there waiting for you to listen. So that will come to you guys. Haven't picked the date yet, but that's going to be pretty kick-ass. And don't forget that the Photo of the Month vote is going on right now. You can vote down for the top the top photo. There's 51 of them. It's brought to you by Rode. They're giving away a microphone. And let's see, anything else that I have to do before we get the photo news? I wanted to blow through housekeeping. Oh yeah, Steven.
Oh yeah.
That Black Rapid strap that we made a video about the other day. What do you think of that strap?
It's pretty nice.
It is nice. It has my name on it.
It's a certain color, too.
It's a certain color that we're not telling you what color it is. We're going to release that soon for a pre-sale because they are coming in off the boat very soon. Yes, it's going to be official. My own strap. Was that a knock at my door?
I don't think so.
I don't think so. Okay, construction. Steven.
Yes.
It's time for photo news. Should I reset the cameras now?
Nah, we're only 4 minutes in, so we're good.
Oh, all right, Steven.
First up, Sigma. They actually pretty much announced that their new Sigma 18-35 1.8 lens has arrived in the US, or it'll come out in July, and it's going to be $799, which is a pretty excellent price for that.
Yeah, because when I guessed, I was like $1,100, $1,200.
Yeah,
because it's a 1.8 lens. Now it's yeah. Go ahead, keep going.
That's pretty much it. I mean, I can read the press release part that they actually announced.
No need to read the press release. We've been waiting for this. It's a zoom. What? You're pointing to it like you want to read it.
No, I'm just saying a 1.8 lens. That's incredible. I mean, for an 18-35, that's
a zoom 1.8 lens.
Yeah.
The reviews are starting to come out. I'll try to get my hands on it at Allen's when it comes in, just to do some quick shooting tests with it, like I used to do. I need to get back to that because I keep doing these long reviews. But I think people like seeing those sample ones where I go in there and I do like an 8-minute or a 5-6 minute video where I unbox it, sniff it, take some sample images, and just put them up for people to look at. I need to get back to doing that.
And this is the world's, isn't it the first 1.8 zoom lens?
It is the first 1.8 zoom lens for a DX camera.
For a DX camera,
correct. Some people will say, well, and yeah, it's going to be interesting. We'll see how it is. Mm-hmm. At $799, it could be a buy. I mean, let's see. The 17-50 is around $600. And that's a 17-50 2.8, and this is a 18 to 35.
Correct.
So it's a little shorter, but you're getting more light capability, which isn't as much of a big deal today, being that the DX cameras are doing so well with low light, but it's about the sharpness. We'll see where it is. At 2.8, it's probably sharper. than a 2.8
Yeah,
lens.
that's what it's going to come down to. I mean, is it going to be just as sharp at 1.8 than the other 1.8 lenses that are on the market today, you know?
Yeah.
Who knows?
What's next?
Next up, we got photographer Kai.
Oh, Steven. I don't mean to rush you ever through photo news. I know last week you felt like I rushed you, or people may seem like I'm not rushing him when I say what's next, like I'm trying to get somewhere. It's not. Oh, and by the way, we do have these what are they called? These windscreens?
Windscreens.
Here's a funny story about a windscreen, and I interrupted you, Steven.
It's all good.
When I was a kid, I was watching probably Bandstand or something, and then the Jackson 5 were singing, and they each had a different color windscreen.
We should get that.
We should. They had a yellow, an orange, a blue, a green, and there was a brown. I probably didn't want the brown because I didn't know what that would taste like. But I had this thing where I thought that I could eat things, and like a hockey puck. I once tried to bite a hockey puck because I thought it would be cool. Like sniff testing, I thought I would bite test it.
It looks delicious.
It does look delicious. I always thought a hockey puck would be tasting good. And then there's these microphone things, these windscreens. I was like, oh, I want to taste the rainbow. And hey, hey, there's a secret word. We haven't done one in a while. I want to taste the rainbow. But anyway, back to news. I know.
Back to news. Photographer Kai, I think it's Isoline. Kai Isoline. He filed a massive $3.6 million lawsuit against the popular viral website
3.9.
BuzzFeed. Well, they posted 3.6, and then in the article they posted 3.9.
Oh.
So I'm assuming it's 3.6 because that was the headline, but it could be 3.9. It's one of the two, basically. It's high. It's a lot. It's a big number. But anyway, BuzzFeed used one of his Flickr photos without permission in one of their headlines, which their article was the 30 funniest header faces.
Header faces.
Header
Meaning
faces.
When you head the ball in soccer, you make a...
Like the weird like smush faces and stuff. And he marked the image on Flickr as all rights reserved, so they couldn't use it without permission pretty much. And the whole lawsuit, they released a statement saying that BuzzFeed actively encourages its users to share content, regardless of whether or not that content is owned by or licensed to BuzzFeed. The plaintiff asserts that
BuzzFeed is a little different.
Yeah, BuzzFeed's a little different. The plaintiff asserts that BuzzFeed is responsible for 61 infringements upon his photograph because basically BuzzFeed posted it and then 61 other websites
aggregated it or posted it. And this is an interesting thing. Yes, he put it on Flickr. They took it, which they do a lot of times. It seems like you do an image search, you don't look. It shows up in Google. You just grab it and put it up. You try to attribute people with the image as much as possible. And the question that I wrote down here for myself is this just how it is today? If you post online, is it fair game?
It seems to be that way, but it's not. It shouldn't be.
Right, it shouldn't be.
I feel like the ruls aren't applied really anymore. Like people
not.
just don't care. They think it's on the internet. Anyone can take it.
That's correct. That's true. That we learned that with music. Now we're learning it with photography. People just go and take whatever they want. But with this thing, if he did mark it as all rights reserved, which means they went and grabbed it and didn't read that and just took it. It could have been an intern. It could have been a writer. It could have been anybody over there without thinking. So he did the right thing by sending them a cease and desist letter. And under that Millennium Act, you have to let them know, and then they have to take it down, and that's it. But I guess he filed this lawsuit because 61 other sites started to spread it around. It's interesting. I don't think he'll get any money out of it.
I mean, people wonder also why it's such a big number. It's because it's got spread around by those 61 other websites.
And it started with BuzzFeed, not BudFeed.
With
Steven.
BudFeed. They have some good beer there, I heard. But anyway.
Oh, you thought of beer?
No, I was thinking, yeah. But BuzzFeed, they got sued last year also for a similar incident.
And did they lose?
I'm not sure. They didn't say if they did or not, but this is how they responded to it. They released a statement saying that BuzzFeed pays to license images from companies like Reuters and Getty, but that it also pulls from amateur sites like Tumblr and Flickr, amateur sites. In these cases, the ownership of the images can be unclear. In some cases, the photographer has made them available for public use, while other times the author is simply unknown. That's their bullshit. That's their excuse, pretty much.
That's flat out bullshit.
Which Flickr, he clearly has all rights reserved on that image.
Exactly. That's bullshit because I have that selected in my images.
Me too.
But I also have it say that you can use it with attribution.
That's what I have too.
So he didn't even have that on.
I don't believe so. Look, they didn't list that at least.
If I'm putting pictures up online, I want people to look at them. That's the whole point. I'm putting up raw files these days from concerts. The Bieber photo. What's that guitar player's name from the
I'm thinking Slash, but
no,
he's a guitar player.
No, he's of the darker skin variety.
The darker skin variety. Gary Clark Jr.?
Gary Clark Jr. I'm sorry, I had to say it that way.
No,
he's African American, or he's just American, and he's black.
Yes.
To put it
yes.
bluntly.
Simply put.
Yes. Gary Clark Jr. put up those RAW files. No, I'm not racist in any sense of the word. I don't take racism. I don't believe in that stuff.
I don't think you need to explain
I just
that.
meant it that way.
That's fine.
Just associating. Putting those files out there, I want people to see them. And it's just, I think, how we are today. And so that's why I put it out there with attribution. Go ahead and use it.
Well, I do the same thing. And then Flickr, if you're a pro user, you get to see actually if people attribute you when they post their picture.
I'm a pro user still.
Yeah, and I'll actually check out those websites that post the picture.
Oh, I see it
in
the
your
list.
stats. You can see like what website linked back to your Flickr account.
All right.
So I usually check them out once a month, and when they properly do it.
All right, what's
which
next?
Is rare. And just going back to that real quick, the lawsuit is online too. There's a copy of that on the website. They can read the whole thing.
And
if they really
all of
wanna
the
get
photo
technical.
news is on FroKnowsPhoto.com. Click the link on the screen or click the link down below on YouTube. Or if you're watching at home, go to FroKnowsPhoto.com/podcast. Find this week's episode number 41, and you will see all of the news stories that Steven talked about, as well as a news story preview video that we post on YouTube each week that Steven does. And Steven, before we jump back in the news, I want to talk about the Rokinon lens we're using today. Last week we mentioned Rokinon was a sponsor. This week they're not technically sponsoring, but I wanted to say this anyway. We are using, because the lenses came in the mail to test and review. We did an unboxing, which we didn't put up yet. I am using the 85 1.5 Rokinon lens. It's the Cine lens on my D4 right now to record me. So if you're listening to the audio at home, go check out the video online of the podcast, because that is the lens that we're using. I can see right through that hunk of glass. That's 1.5, f1.5. So it's the Rokinon lens. I've got the one sitting here, which is what is this? A 35 1.5, which is really, really heavy. The one thing I don't like about it, and has nothing to do with the lens, so it has nothing to do with the quality of the lens, Steven, is the fact that this thing right here,
the lens cap grabber thingy majigger
is so small that you need to have the tiniest of tiny fingers to make it feel comfortable. Now that's better than the Canon ones, which I know they've replaced, but the old Canon ones where you had to squeeze from the side. Anyway,
well, I'm assuming that they probably couldn't do it exactly as wide as Canon or Nikon has because of patent. Yeah, so they probably had to make it like smaller, which...
But no, that's Rokinon, said Rokinon. So I want to let you know we're using that lens here. We may use them for future Raw Talks. We've used them in some videos now because we're testing them out, trying them out. You guys can check them out. Alan actually has the whole lineup of Rokinon lenses for you guys to play with. All manual focus, affordable, and nice. We've been using them.
Yeah, they've been real nice.
Photo news.
Next up, we got, this is pretty cool actually, Mars Curiosity Rover. They posted a behind-the-scenes video of all the cameras on the Mars Curiosity, and they broke down each camera and what it does and the purpose of each one. There's 17 cameras on that thing, which is pretty crazy. And the thing that kind of blew me away is the low resolution that they take, which makes sense because they got to beam it back from Mars. But they take 1 megapixel black and white photos. A few of those cameras.
How many weeks are you going to be on Mars?
How many weeks are who?
No, how many weeks are you going to be on Mars?
Me?
Yeah.
A lot. Probably.
No, the proper answer for anybody that knows the original Total Recall is Steven, again?
Dude, I'm terrible with movies, man.
Everybody out there, how long will you be on Mars? The answer, 2 weeks. You need to go watch Total Recall, the original.
I got nothing.
All right, keep going.
Anyway, 1 megapixel black and white photos. They also have 2 megapixel colored photos
Which
that
I
they
was
beam
surprised
back.
that they actually took color. I always thought they didn't, and they colored it later.
And they do take video, but it's rare that they beam it back because it's such high resolution. So the scientists usually like to just beam back the images because they can take a lot more, obviously.
Well, they only have a certain period of time that they can
that they're allocated
they can
to beam back. Yeah.
Well, because it gets blocked. You know, there's no other
signal.
I think there may be a satellite up there that helps beam it back, but I was just reading that they have 8 new. NASA's probably going to turn it into a reality show where they have 8 contestants, 4 women and 4 men that are vying to be the next astronaut, and they're not all military anymore. Some of them are, and this is real. I don't know.
I
if
thought
they're
you were making this up. This is real.
This is real.
What?
I don't know that they're going to make it a reality show, but they probably should. They're going to put them through the paces to see who will become an astronaut. This is just how they do it, the astronaut camp and everything.
Interesting.
And one of the things could be to go to Mars. Other could be long-term living in space. Just different things. It's pretty cool. I'm fascinated by the whole space race, and I think we need to put more money into it. But
I totally agree. Yeah,
money for military. We wouldn't be where we are today if we didn't have NASA funding from the 50s through the the 90s.
Yeah. But there's a whole behind-the-scenes video of it, of the guy breaking it down, every camera. So it's pretty cool. You can check it out over on the website. Next up, we got a possible image of the long-rumored Canon 3D has popped up online. There's a guy wearing a strap. It's an image from like a Chinese or Korean website or somewhere along those lines. Some language I can't read pretty much. And there's a guy wearing a strap that seems, you can't make it out, but it's blocked, but it looks like it says 3D, and then the actual camera is blurred out. So now they're saying, hey, it's a Canon 3D that's been...
Does that mean it takes 3D pictures?
No. It's just the name of the camera. But I think they shouldn't name it 3D because it's going to confuse a lot of people.
It's confused me,
If it comes
Steven.
out, I mean, it's total rumor.
It's a rumor, and you know me with rumors.
I know.
That's your job. That's not me because I don't really talk about rumors. But 3D?
3D.
Where does it fall?
Between the 5D and the 1D.
But what's the 6D?
The 6D's not... It's
So
before the 5D.
You're telling me they're going to have 3 full-frame cameras?
Yep. No, 4. 6D, 5D, 3D, 1D.
What the hell are you Canon people thinking? We've got the 5D Mark I, 5D Mark II, 5D Mark III. We've got a 7D, which is not as good as the 5D. We've got a 6D, which is below the 5D. We've got a 3D we think is a rumor. I call shenanigans, Steven.
Well, I will say that, I mean, it does kind of make sense because the 5D is what, about $3,000, and the 6D's $6,500 around that, or I'm sorry, the 1D is $6,500 around that price range. So what, if you want to upgrade, that's a $3,000 upgrade. If this camera comes out to be around $4,500 or something, that makes complete sense.
No, it makes no sense
I think
at
that
all.
makes sense.
0 cents, Steven.
If you want some of those pro features in that 1D body, but you don't want to spend that $3,000.
That's what the 5D Mark III is.
Yeah, but the 5D Mark III doesn't have everything that 1D has.
Are my levels good?
Yeah.
Is it okay?
It's good. It's good.
No, that's bullshit, Steven. You can't have 8 million cameras in your lineup. You can't have a 5D Mark III for $3,000 and then have a $4,500 camera and then have a $6,000 camera because it's like $6,000 now refurbed, or Alan, I don't know what Alan's price is, but the features, the autofocus features are the same between the 1DX and the 5D Mark III. The sensor's great. What are they going to do? Put an 18 megapixel sensor in there instead of 24 megapixel?
I don't know.
I
mean, again, it's a whole rumor.
It's a rumor. That's why I don't talk about it, because it pisses me off, because it's just, wait till it's announced. It's just like, 3D? Why are you going the wrong? I thought it was a 3D camera. I'm staring at this image when I looked at it the other day going, what, is the time good?
It's going there. It's getting there.
Go ahead. You take care of...
All right, you can go on your rant.
I'll go on my rant. It's just, I was looking at this image. What'd you just move, Steven? Will you stop moving the table? I'm looking at this image going, is this a 3D camera? What is going on here? I don't understand it. Does it have multiple... I'm sitting there looking for multiple lenses. It just doesn't make any sense at all. So I call... I'll get it, Steven. Don't worry about it. I'll get that in a second. I call full-on shenanigans on that news story. Next up, Steven, and I'll go switch the camera.
Next up, we got some more rumors to annoy you. Adobe is looking into different Creative Cloud subscription prices following their massive online backlash that they got because of the pricing.
Say that it's a rumor again.
I did.
I said it's 3 times.
It's a rumor. But anyway, they're saying that they might drop the price. They put out a survey saying would people like that if the pricing structure would be $9.99 for Photoshop or $29.99 for the entire suite on a 3-year contract, which also includes a permanent copy of Photoshop CS6 just CS6 in general, after 3 years, and a promise to continually update CS6 to support future file and camera types. So they might drop the price. But again, a rumor.
Yeah, I thought that was cool. I was like, yeah, these are good ideas, and the pricing is much better. But then they just put out Creative Cloud now. What are they going to do to all the people that already paid $50 a month to have Creative Cloud?
Well, they're screwed.
Or paid $20 a month? Are they screwed, or are they going to just extend their period of time for having the gear? Now, it's great that they're going to give you CS6 at the end, if that's true. It just right now sounds a little weird. Why would they just keep updating CS6? At some point...
It sounds like it's not... Like, it's the whole purpose of this is to not upgrade CS6 anymore, and now they're doing that, and it seems redundant almost.
So, yes, I think they may work the pricing structure. I think what you may end up seeing is that you get different pricing, and then the people that are already in the cloud... By the way, 700,000 paying customers in the cloud right now.
Really?
I saw that on TechCrunch yesterday.
That's a lot of early adopters for that cloud.
There are people that already had it last year.
Yeah.
And then the people that, 700,000 paying customers in Creative Cloud. So all these people bitching and moaning, stop bitching and moaning. If it's not for you, it's not for you. That's really what it comes down to. So this rumor, part of it, I think they'll change the pricing. The other part, I don't know if it's totally true. Next.
Next up, Zoom. They officially released their H6, which is awesome. It's an audio recorder. It's the big brother to the H4n, and it comes in at $400, which I did expect it to be more. So $400 is a pretty awesome price for this kind of machine.
Well, let me ask you something, Steven.
Yeah.
I was going to ask you this. Like, we have a board. We have a Zoom board. It's the Zoom with 24 inputs, and it has an SD card built in, records to that. We love it. It's a $500 board. It's good for being here. Would you sit here with it on the table and use a Zoom H6?
Would I use it for in replace of that?
Would it
You're
replace
saying
that?
It could, but I wouldn't recommend it just because that has the 8 inputs for the XLR mics and stuff like that, where the H6 only has 2 starting off. So I mean, it's something that you would bring probably.
No, the H6 has 4.
I'm sorry, 4. You're right.
And a possibility to add 2 more.
Exactly. So it has 6 channels of possible.
That's insane.
simultaneous recording, and it has high definition audio of up to 24-bit 96K, which is something you'll see from a pro board usually. And yeah, it's the world's first handy recorder with an interchangeable mic system.
It's got a hot shoe mount. You can put it on your digital SLR camera.
XY mics to capture stereo. It's pretty awesome. It's a heavy duty.
So we can
the job kind of
we
thing.
can plug the Rode mics in that we're going to be getting.
Yeah, any XLR input. I think it's something that you'll want to use if you're doing on-location shoots. It's definitely going to be really nice for replacing your on-camera audio. There's so many different options these days.
And it has a color screen on it.
A color screen, correct? Yeah, I mean, at $400, it has a lot of stuff that you can get from a pro board like we use right now.
So it would be good for traveling.
Yes.
So when Ari and I go to New York to interview somebody like Bob Gruen, we don't have to take the whole board up. We can take this thing.
Fits in your pocket.
You can do all of the. All right, cool.
Yeah, it's a really. I might actually get one myself just to have it in the bag.
Does that mean I'm buying it for you?
Maybe. Can you?
For work purposes?
Meanwhile, Bieber is back in the news.
Which I had to hear about this news, and I wasn't going to allow the Bieber in the news, but go ahead, because it's an update from last week.
It's an update, yeah. It's an update on last week. The photographer that he stole the memory card from, or the SIM card.
Oh, and I didn't try to offend any Canadians, but they backed me up and said they don't want him back in Canada also.
I don't think the world wants him in general.
I just wish he would just stop being such a woman.
Yeah, exactly. I wish he would.
And no offense to women out there calling Bieber a woman.
He's got to shrink his ego up a little bit.
Just a little bit. Somebody needs to pummel him into the ground.
But the paparazzo...
You know what they need? Do you know what they need?
What?
Rick Ross. No, not Rick Ross. Not Rick Ross. Who's the guy that hung Vanilla Ice from his feet? Suge Knight.
Yeah.
So they need Suge Knight to come out of the woodworks, hang Bieber out of a 40-story balcony in Vegas, and tell him that he has to sign over the rights to his music
Tell him what's up.
to Death Row Records. All right? That's what he needs to do. We need Suge Knight, who was the ultimate thug, who's probably back in jail again, who lost all the rights to all of the music from Tupac and all of the Death Row stuff.
Yep.
Somebody bought it for like $29 million at auction, which is probably a great steal because
that's a really good price.
Classic music right there. But back to the Bieber story.
Yeah, but the paparazzo, his name's Gustavo Garces, I guess that's how you pronounce it. Yeah, and he's demanding that he returns the memory card. And meanwhile, the Biebs is under investigation for a possible hit and run. This is another story.
The guy's suing him.
Yes.
For what?
They didn't say how much.
But for what?
For stealing the memory card.
For stealing his memory, for taking his camera and holding it hostage.
They
basically.
want it back, yeah, pretty much.
Oh, he took the card. He never gave it back?
No.
That's called stealing.
That is called
In
stealing.
anybody's book, if it's like we learned this in kindergarten, so let's play a little kindergarten thing here.
Now,
I'm not done, Steven. I'm going back to kindergarten, so I have to get into that mindset. I was a Montessori's kid,
Kindergarten
by the way.
cop.
So it should be like, so we got Little Bieber. Hi, I'm Little Bieber. And Little Bieber's like, hey, will you guys go steal that guy's SIM card? And then the guys are like, hey, man, you need to give me that SIM card because Mr. Bieber told me that I need to take it. And then Gustavo's like, hey, give me my SIM card back. And then he's like, I'm going to sue you. And Bieber's like, say, kiss my ring. And I'm like, no, I will not kiss your ring. And then the guy's like, you're going to kiss his ring. And that's a kid in kindergarten speaking. And he's like,
that's Suge Knight.
He's like, yeah, you're going to kiss my ring or you're going to get the wrath of the Bieber. And then Bieber's like, I told you. And then Eric Cartman's like, screw you guys. I'm going home.
Respect my authority.
All right, go ahead. That was brought to you by me. Don't forget me. Oh, there's one thing I forgot to say early on, as I digress. Don't forget about the FroKnowsPhoto Beginner Guide to Getting Out of Auto. If you've got a digital SLR and you're not really sure how to get out of auto and you want to learn the fundamentals of photography, of manual exposure, composition, go to FroKnowsPhoto.com/guide. Everybody loves that guide. 3 hours, awesome news.
Another story about the Biebs. He is under investigation for a possible hit and run with his Ferrari, his awesome-looking Ferrari. There's video of him hitting a paparazzo with his car, and he...
Do you know the difference between paparazzo and paparazzi?
Yes, I do.
What is it?
Paparazzo is one, paparazzi is several.
Really?
Yes.
So when they're in a crowd together, they're
That's
paparazzi.
the paparazzi.
When he's one, he's a paparazzo. What do you call a woman?
That's a good question.
Paparazzette?
Paparazza. I think it's still paparazzo, but
Papa
I'm not
John's?
sure. Papa John's.
Right, anyway.
Papa John's sounds good. But yeah, now Bieber did motion for him to pretty much get out of the way and stuff like that. But he just floored his car and ended up hitting the guy, and the guy dropped his camera, everything, smashed it to pieces.
Good.
It's
I'm
kind of
backing
both
Bieber
sides.
up.
I'm
Look,
kind of like, yeah.
Leave Bieber alone. Would somebody just leave Bieber alone? Like, fine, you're in the public light. Yes. When he's out and about and he's walking around, when he's in his freaking car, don't jump in front of a car, because you're not going to jump in front of just anybody's car and take their picture. You're going to get out of the way. So don't make it so it's like you're trying to make something happen. You're trying to piss him off. You're trying to sue him. I don't like what Bieber's doing, but this is, get out of the way.
Yeah.
Don't walk in front of his Ferrari, okay? Leave him alone in that situation. It's like, you want to take a picture? Ask, like, hey, Justin, hold up a sign. Justin, can I take your picture? I mean, my whole thing with the paparazzi is if I was out there with them, I would just stand there with a sign and go, can I take your picture?
Yeah.
They say no. I come back the next day. Can I take your picture?
And they're going to end up getting you that picture because you're the one guy not in their way.
The one guy just
asking
being
politely,
respectful.
Yep.
Will it work? I don't know, but that is what I would do. They would see me every single day until they actually invited me in and gave me the picture.
We should do like an experiment and do
I
that
will
one
do
day.
that experiment because I will piss off some of those
Oh,
paparazzis.
yeah. They'll get right in your way.
Well, it wouldn't be a
You'll get in fist
paparazzi.
fights.
Oh, I'd be like, whatever. Anyway, news.
But anyway, talking about like suing them and stuff like that. The second the guy got hit, the paparazzo, all the other guys are like, "Oh, call 911! Oh, I got it on film! Oh, I'll sue him!" Blah blah blah.
Go to TMZ. It's like
yeah.
we live in this world of that bullshit.
Yep.
And I don't agree with that at all. I don't agree with Bieber stealing the guy's memory card. Bullshit. I don't agree with this paparazzo jumping in front of the car and then everybody making a big deal out that he hit him. Get away from the car. Don't stand near the car. It's like when you go to you watch the Masters, you watch the US Open, you watch golf. You ever see how close these people stand to, if somebody tees off and misses the ball terribly and slices it, it's going to kill somebody. They all stand there though.
Yep, they're like 5 feet away.
Yeah.
And then the police say that the photographer was not seriously hurt, but he was at fault because he was a pedestrian in the roadway. So
And
Bieber
not-
apparently is going to get cleared, and he's not
Should.
under.
Well,
yeah.
good. In
Yeah.
that case, good.
For once, good.
Well, yeah.
And another cool thing, it's not too current, but it's still pretty interesting. Photographer Dave Engeldow, I'm not sure how to pronounce his name.
Engeldow.
Engeldow.
Because
That's probably correct.
I split it up here.
He posted some super creative portraits of his daughter growing up, her whole childhood kind of thing. And he put up the whole slideshow, a video explaining how he did it and why he did it. And it's just really cool stuff on the website. It's just pictures of him and his daughter in like a creative kind of way.
A lot of them, they're composites.
All composites almost. There's one, like, for example, like they're both in bed. She's like making pancakes for him, flipping it over while he's eating them.
So the story behind it is he wanted to give his daughter some really cool photos as she grew up, some fun and creative things. And he's not a professional photographer; he's an amateur. He's was he an IT guy or something?
Yeah, or like a lawyer or something.
He was something else, but he wanted to take these creative photos, and it actually gave me an understanding of where it's okay to use Photoshop for these composites. Now, I think some of the shots are overdone in terms of processing.
I agree,
but
he tends to get the HDR effect going on.
because he goes over the top of the highlights, but really funny stuff. It's the dad's greatest dad, or dad's the best dad around. Right? It's called best dad, world's best dad photos.
Yeah.
And these photos are great. And then I saw that it was a Kickstarter, but when I looked, we saw that it was old news because it stopped in September of 2012 or
Yeah, because
something.
I originally saw him last year, the pictures.
Yeah, and I was ready to go fund it. I was ready to go buy a calendar. Why? Because I'll support somebody that did that.
Yeah, is that what he did? He put it all into a giant
think it was a
calendar,
calendar.
and that's what the Kickstarter was for, correct?
I think so.
Yeah.
And then I went and I looked and I saw, it got funded. It got like $7 or $8 grand out of $740 he really needed.
Cool.
So that was cool. I mean, the Kickstarter's great for stuff like that. I'm not really a big fan of professional photographers going to Kickstarter to fund a book. You're a professional photographer. Maybe to sell it, maybe to get the buzz going, like something like that. Like we had Meet in America. They were going to make that book anyway, but let's get it to Kickstarter and try to raise the initial amount and then sell it that way at a discount. So that's good. But some people turn to it for, like Zach Braff doing the movie. He could have gotten the $2 million another way, but he went there, which is fine. And it's a whole long story of discussion.
I think he got $2 million in like hours.
He
too.
did. Kickstarter's great. I love the product. Speaking of, is that your news? Let me talk about.
There's one more thing, but
let me go into this real quick because we're on the Kickstarter thing. You got that Lumu bringing light meter. They don't have their English
actually,
down.
that's the one other thing that I was going to talk about.
Oh, you're going to talk about this?
Well, no, you're going to talk about it.
I'm going to talk about
Yeah.
it. Bringing the light meter to the 21st century. It is a light meter for the iPhone. And you've seen light meters for iPhones, but they never had attachments. So what this thing does is it plugs this little like dome that has a light meter, light reading device inside it into the iPhone, and then it is an actual light meter. The only thing I'm curious about is if it can track flash.
That's what I'm wondering.
And I'm trying to get these guys on the phone. They said we can have an interview, but they've been really busy, being that at the time of recording, they already have 1,000 backers after 2 days, and they've done over $90,000. They were only looking for $20,000.
That's awesome.
Fully funded. It went around the internet. I posted a story about it yesterday. I don't think I'm going to buy it. I own a light meter. It's $99 because the early bird special of $79 is already gone. But I don't really use a light meter very often.
Well,
and
I think this day and age, it's not needed, but it is definitely a nice thing to have in the bag.
I think it's for $99. I think a lot of amateur people think they've never owned a light meter.
I feel like they think they need it.
They think they need it, but you really don't. That's why I didn't personally buy one.
Studio guys still love to use it.
Oh,
and it's totally understandable when you're using
absolutely.
multiple lights
But yeah, it's okay. You take a general reading, but then guess what you do? You plug your camera into the computer, you take a tethered photo, and you look at it in Lightroom or Creative.
Does it look good?
Or
Looks
one,
good.
and you go, oh, my exposure's right. I mean, see, that's the thing with the light meter. But it's fascinating. They were able to create what they created, marketed a product through Kickstarter, got it funded fully within a day, less than a day, and the business is born.
So this will just read off of like an app, I'm assuming, like kind of like the Rode, the smart
like the
smart
Rode
Lab?
Smart Lab. They developed their own app that works with that reads the light.
So what I always wondered about Kickstarter is that if you're, you say you only want 20,000 funded and you get 90,000, do you keep that whole 90,000?
You get it all.
That's awesome.
The thing with Kickstarter,
I hope they make something else out of it. I hope they don't just keep it all.
well, no, what it goes to is selling all the product,
That's
all
what
that
I figured,
product
yeah.
purchase. So it goes to making it, and then if there's profit and they're good, then they start developing the next step and the next thing. What you'll see is other products that they come out with in the future. What is that noise?
That sounds like a bird or something.
It's a dog barking, isn't it?
It's a dog barking.
Shecky! I don't have a dog named Shecky. I listen to Smodcast, and he's always yelling, Shecky, shut up! Anyway, how we with time on these? Good?
We're good, yeah.
Where were we before
That's
the dog
pretty much
started barking?
it.
No, I want to talk about Kickstarter. So you asked if they get all the money.
Correct, yeah.
If you don't get fully funded, you don't get the money. There's kind of a trick.
You have to hit that mark.
You have to hit that mark. There is a trick, though. You fund yourself at the end. If you get really, really close,
Just
say
add
you're
the
at
extra grand.
19,000. Say you're at 17,000, and you've got a couple hours left, and you may not make it, and you put in the $3,000. All you're giving up is like 7%. But you're giving up 7% because that's the cut. I believe it's either 5 or 7% that Kickstarter takes because it's done through Amazon, and you fund it yourself. You take that $3,000 to get 20 grand. Basically, you'll get it back. You're investing in yourself because you want to get that money. Because if you don't, then nobody gets charged. All the money goes back into their accounts that they were never charged. So that's the way of doing
It's like cash back.
It's just like you're giving a little bit of money to get all of that money out.
Yeah.
That's just something
It
that
makes total sense, and I never thought of that.
Yeah.
It's such an easy thing to do.
If you get close.
Yeah.
But don't forget that Kickstarter takes their fees.
Yeah,
which
what is their
fine.
percentage?
I believe it's either 5.5 or I think it's up to 7% now.
Is it?
So on $100,000, they're taking $7,000, but it's a good thing. Yeah, we could talk about Kickstarter for hours.
That's true.
Was that all your news?
That's it.
Really?
Yep.
News was brought to you by me, I guess. Who was news brought to you? I mean,
Brought to you by me.
We talked about the Rokinon lenses, but I want it to be brought to you by, don't forget, allenscamera.com. And I'm just going to say it again, the FroKnowsPhoto Beginner Guide to Getting Out of Auto. Check it out, 3-hour guide, $67. You own it, you download it, you buy the DVD. Either way you want it, it's going to help you learn the beginning parts of photography, Stephen. Get out of here.
All right, peace
You
out.
are done. The news is over. Anyway, all right, Stephen. Thank you very much for that.
You're very welcome.
Oh, I shouldn't have. Where did that piece of paper go? I had my notes on there. Can you throw it back real quick? Little short, but all right. Darn it. I just threw my notes away, but it was the first page. Was there anything else on here I needed to talk about? No. Okay, so now it's time for the flying solo portion of RAWtalk. How far in are we anyway? About a half an hour, Stephen? So I need to know how much time I have to talk. We are at the flying solo portion. I am really enjoying this. Don't forget that this lens over here is recording me using the Rokinon 85 1.5 Cine lens. So let's jump into it. Casey Cosley. Oh, by the way, I didn't do this last week because we had the awesome interview with Bob Gruen. Steven, did you enjoy that one?
That was one of the best interviews
Did you turn your
I think I've ever
microphone
watched.
up over there?
Yes, I did.
See, we gave Steven a microphone over by the board. Did you turn your other one off?
Yes, I did.
Awesome. You're so amazing right now,
so
Steven.
good.
Yeah, it was a pretty good interview. So if you haven't checked that out, RAWtalk number 40, which is an interview with Bob Gruen. We could have gone for hours. We stopped after about 32 minutes of interviewing, but he would have kept going and going and going. All right. And that's why we didn't do Flying Solo last week. Casey Cosley, would you ever consider doing a street photography flying solo episode? Perhaps something where Steven could follow you and... What? What are you doing, Steven? Oh. Could follow you around with a camera and we could see how you work on the go. No, not really. I'm not into street photography personally. It's not my favorite thing to do. Yes, Steven could follow me around with a camera and I could put the first-person shooter GoPro on the top of the camera and do that. But honestly, I'm not really going to do too much of a street photography thing. Plus, I don't want a camera around. People are going to be seeing that other guy's camera and be like, what is going on here? That's why I wouldn't be doing that. Federico Feroldi. Since you were going to test Rokinon lenses, can you give any tips for manual focusing? Yeah, I'm not great with manual focusing personally. One thing you could do if you're doing video is zoom in on the back of the screen to help you look at the subject. Get on a tripod. Get a Zacuto for looking to help you focus better on the back of the screen. Steven, you been using the Zacuto?
I have.
What do you think of that so far?
It's pretty awesome. I mean, 3 times magnification, you can't ask for anything better pretty much.
No, you can't ask for anything better. It is so freaking crisp and clear. We'll have a preview of the Zacuto Z Finder Pro that we are using. Get on a tripod, try not to shoot moving subjects, or pre-focus in a place where the subject is going to be. That's what helps with manual focus. Or just try to flat out track it and higher aperture. If you have a higher aperture, you have a better chance of getting your stuff in focus. If you're shooting at 1.4 and manually focusing, you're never going to get it in if they're moving. That's just a tip for that one. Mike Jansen, or Janssen. Janssen. The J is silent. What movie's that from, Steven?
I don't know. I can't remember.
Anchorman. Yogging. This new trend called yogging. The J is silent. Fine. Nothing?
No, I remember.
Oh, now you remember. So
I'm not good at quotes. I can't remember quotes directly. I'm terrible at that kind of stuff.
Yeah. So the name is MAIK, which I believe is Mike Janssen. Which focus point do you use? Center point to focus on and recompose, or an off-center point, say, at 2/3 left or right? So most of the time, I have 51 points in my Nikon. The Canon that I was shooting had 61 points, the 1DX. I independently select where I want my focus point, meaning I pick from any one of those 51 or 61 to determine where I'm going to focus. Sometimes I lock in and recompose, but a lot of times in continuous mode, I am selecting, say, a small pattern, the 9-point autofocus, meaning I pick the one and it helps with the 9 points around it to autofocus. So I do sometimes lock in and recompose in the studio. I pick a focusing point, but a lot of times I move it to where it should be, so I don't have to move and compose, allowing me to get a sharper image at certain apertures. Good question, Mike. Stephanie Peterson. How do you learn to assess? Yeah, when I read this the first time, it's assess, Steven, not assess. Assess. How do you assess the lighting on a shoot so quickly? Where I got to, this is at the bottom of the paper, so I got to hold it up a little bit. And I hope the GoPro doesn't get thrown off by this. Let's see. How do you learn to assess the lighting on a shoot so quickly? Where you take maybe one test shot and make one adjustment and boom, it's perfect. Versus we, amateurs in parentheses, may take several attempts at the test shots and adjustments. How do you How do you get so quick at it? What's your secret? Fro Beginner's Guide? Joking. That's what she wrote. The secret's the Fro Beginner Guide. It's not really the secret. So this is my take on how I walk into a situation and get the lighting right. One, I've been doing it a really long time. 18 years of shooting. I understand light now for the past, I don't know, decade. And I will say for the first, 8 years, it may not have been as easy to walk into the situation. I think the best thing that you can do is guess the setting when you walk into a room and try it. But then if you're wrong, don't try to switch 3 different things like your ISO, your aperture, and your shutter speed all at once. Change one thing. Start with that one thing. Try to get that right, and then you can move the other ones. But I think what happens is people jump into the situation, take one picture, and they go, oh, I'm going to change my ISO. Oh, I'm going to change my aperture and shutter speed all at the same time, and you'll never get it right there. You'll get it right eventually, but it's a lot of guessing. So it's just practice. I think the best practice you can have is if you take your camera with you everywhere, is every situation that you walk into, guess the setting. And then you'll start getting closer and closer. Steven, how are you with guessing the setting?
I'm not spot on, but I'm pretty close I would say the first picture. I usually can guess the ISO for the first time.
You better be.
And then I just basically figure it out from there. But yeah, I'm pretty good at it.
Got it. All right. Simon Reece, where do you see film heading in the next 5 years? Do you envision? All right. Somebody ripped on me last week. Let me just say this. I understand that not everybody's from here. And not everybody spells well and writes coherently. And I know that I do the same thing. I am not the best writer of English. I speak pretty well, I think. But when it comes to writing it, I'm not always the best with grammar. I can't tell you what a conjunctive noun, a conjunctive verb. I don't even know if conjuncted anything is even real. I was so bad at English, it wasn't even funny. Teachers would I just didn't get it. I would sit there and they'd be like, so do you understand what the participle is? And I'm like, I don't get it. And I just sat there all day saying I don't get it until they moved on and ignored me because I just didn't get it. So sometimes when I'm reading these, it's wrong. It's not their fault, all right? Do you envision the regeneration of some classic emulsions via companies such as Impossible Project, or is it a temporary flash in the pan? Personally, I would hope not. First off, I think that the Impossible Project sucks. And I talked to some people about why they have trouble. Why couldn't they just redo the formula that Polaroid had? And Steven, it's kind of interesting. It's for environmental issues. The stuff that Polaroid was using was not under basically under the environmental protection. They would use chemicals that you couldn't use now, or you can't use certain things now that they used back then, but they were able to do it until they went out of business. So now that they bought the rights, they had to come up with a new formula. So maybe it's going to continue to get better and better. Do I think old film film is going to be, I'm not going to say scarce, but there's going to be less and less film being made. I think that the Kodak patents may be picked up by Fuji one day to make some of their emulsion, but I love Fuji film. I don't know who bought Agfa. I don't know who's going to use their film anymore. I just think you're going to have a couple of films out there. Maybe some small company will have a lot of money and go out there and just make their own type of film. But really, I don't think you're not going to see it go away totally. You'll see it come back at certain points, but I don't think you're going to find anything special in terms of film in the next 5 years. It's not going away. People will still shoot it. Barry Porter, with the Chicago newspaper firing all their photographers, do you see the other newspapers doing the same? And where do you see pro photography in 10 years? Back in the day, photographers wanted to work at newspapers. And then now, nobody wants to work at the newspapers because they don't pay as well. So it was a long time coming. Are more newspapers going to fire photographers? They've already done it. They've already cut their staffs. They've already stopped paying these guys as much. A lot of these guys freelance and do weddings on the side already. And by the way, I did a special interview with one of the fired people from Chicago, and I'll be putting that 17-minute long interview up on YouTube just to hear this person's reaction and hear what they had to say about it, because I got them on Skype and it worked out pretty well. And where do you see pro photography in 10 years? Pro photography is not going anywhere. you still have to stand out. You still have to find your way in the world and be a photographer. I think that a lot of people feel that you can become a professional photographer and replace your day job. I think that photography can be a nice subsidy to your day job. It can be a way to make extra money, the car payments, the mortgage payment, just extra cash in your pocket for a lot of people. And then some people can just take it to the next level and get a lot more jobs and get the ability. Steven, how's the camera over there?
It's looking good.
We're good? I haven't even thought about that.
You got about 10 minutes.
10 minutes?
Yep.
So I don't think photography pros are going anywhere. Some people can break through and others are happy being an amateur but making some money at it and keeping their day job. Done. Edgar David, do you share your knowledge with fellow local photographers outside of YouTube, ? What about the fear that they will take jobs off your hand and eventually have more jobs than you? That's a fantastic question. Steven, I'll throw this to you for a second. The first time I met you, was I afraid to give you any information?
Nope. You actually, I think, gave me your card. You told me about the website, and then you also told me about the brand in general.
Yeah, and Steven ended up picking up some T-shirts, and we just hung out in the pit.
Yeah.
I have no problem talking with local photographers and helping them out. We got Steven Sutter, who's a high school kid who's just getting out of there now, who's going to venture into the world of photography. He did a Kickstarter back in the day, by the way, where he raised, I think, $1,700 or $2,000 or $2,200 to get. It was before everybody started trying to send balloons into space with a GoPro. He did it. He did it, and he sent it up there, and that was pretty cool. He says he still has some balloons left, but Steven's cool. I have no problem. We've got Sam Green, who's a pain in my ass, and everybody knows that. I've had Sam Green. I'm not busting your balls. I'm just busting your balls a little bit because I got to teach him how to be patient and stop bothering me so much with certain things. Be patient. I'll get around to you. That's true for everybody to learn. But Sam's a good kid. Oh, the live view was still on for this?
Yeah.
I have no problem helping people. Am I worried that they're going to take my job? Not really. It was one of those fears I had back in the day before I started my website when I was sitting around not doing a lot of photo shoots. And I was like, well, I can't tell everybody my secrets. And how am I going to get jobs if they know how to be me? Well, you know what? They can't be me. They don't have my eye. They don't capture the angles that I have. They can emulate me a little bit, but I'm just there to help. And then I tell people, you formulate your own style. Don't listen to everything that I say as if it's the gospel, because it's not. Just figure out your own style, find a little bit about each style that you like, and just go from there. We good, Steven? Yep. You're looking awfully weird. What's it look? How's it look? Is it sharp? Yep. Is that Rokinon lens sharp? Better be sharp and colorful, or else. Anyway, I haven't been afraid, and I don't think they're going to take my jobs. Sure, some people may get jobs from things that I say. Sure, you may have some competitors, but you know what? At some point, I do cut them off. There is a point where I do cut people off, Steven. It's true. Anyway, so I'm not really afraid of people, but I was saying that I do cut them off at some point. I do cut them off because at some point, you see that they become a competitor. I had this one girl who I helped with wedding photography for a while, and she was just asking lots and lots of questions, and then she was getting lots of photo gigs, and I wasn't upset she was getting a lot of photo gigs. I just felt, thanks, Steven, I just felt that she was undercharging and not doing quality work, and it was just upsetting, so I just stopped giving them so much information. But no, I have no problem helping the beginners out. Good question, Edgar. Ian Middleton Duff. If you were sitting up there with the big fella, do you mean Wilt Chamberlain? And he says to you, big voice, Jared, I can put you here where film photography is the way, or here where digital photography is the way. Which would you choose and why? Great show, by the way. So basically he's saying that the big guy up there, wherever there is in purgatory, I won't go into that. It says, I can allow you to live somewhere where you can only shoot film or you can only shoot digital. I mean, I'd go with digital. I enjoy it. I can shoot video with it. I can shoot stills. Interesting question. That's why I put it in there, but not really much of an answer. Cone Hellmans. What would you recommend? The older Nikon lens 35 to 72.8 or the Sigma for Nikon 24 to 72.8 in combination with a Nikon D200? Not the 35. I own that 35, but for a full frame, for my F5 and my N90S back in the day, film cameras. The 35 was all right. It had this macro function. Wasn't the sharpest lens in the world. Had a lot of chromatic aggravations, as in abbreviations or whatever, abbreviations. Chromatic. It had a lot of purple freaking fringing, god darn it. That's what it had. Butchering the English language, as some people would say. So I wouldn't recommend a 35 because it's not wide enough on your D200. That's a 1.5 crop factor. I probably wouldn't recommend the Sigma 24-70 either. I'd say get the Nikon 17-50 or the Sigma 17-50 and go from there. Chris Linger, did you have to? Do you have to? Do you have to let it linger? Name that band.
Cranberries.
Stephen. Thank you. At least you got music down.
Well, the music I have down easily, yeah.
Do you have to?
Do you have to?
Zombies. Chris Linger, what do you have to say about the D600 sensor dust issue? Should this stop me from buying one? No, it shouldn't stop you from buying one. It should be perfectly fine at this point, and if it's not, then shame on them. No, it shouldn't be a matter. Definitely pick one up if you like. And check out allenscamera.com if you're in the United States. They have them. Junior Wyatt, if you could go back in time and photograph one music legend for a day, who would it be? Jimi Hendrix or Johnny Cash, and why? Steven, who would you photograph? Johnny Cash or Jimi Hendrix?
Man, that's tough. Probably Johnny Cash.
I was going to pick Jimi Hendrix because he was more of a rock guy. He was there in the scene more than I think Johnny Cash was in terms of that rock and roll thing going on.
Yeah, I think just Cash had more of like a living
darker
legend
image
kind of thing. Yeah, I don't know. He just went through so many different moments in his life. He's got the whole drug thing going on, and I just think that would have been something.
Speaking of drug things, so did Hendrix. He died.
Yeah, exactly. But I'm saying like Cash suffered through that his entire life.
Yeah, I guess you could have been there with June Carter Cash, and it's basically what Jim Marshall did. I still would shoot. I think Jimi Hendrix. I would like to see to go with that and photograph him.
That's tough though. It's a tough choice.
It's a tough choice between those two, but that's what I would have done. We've got Lindsay Carlson Whitehead. Lindsay Carlstrom Whitehead. I got it right the second time. My 4-year-old loves taking photographs on his very basic toy digital camera, but the pictures are very poor quality. Do you have any recommendations for a camera that has the ability to take good quality pictures and is durable for children to use? Thanks. So this is interesting, and I just got a different idea than what I was going to talk about for this, but does it matter that they're not good quality images coming from that camera? The things I would just really like is the fact that the kid's taking photos, and maybe we could somehow stress shooting with good compositions and just capturing the moment. I know I can't wait to see when I have kids, whenever that is, if I'm married one day and have kids, right, Steven?
Right.
Something like that. I gotta have kids. I want to have kids. I want some kids.
A little mini fro running around.
A little fro, maybe the girl fro, whatever. Cake and I want to pass along and learn from the things from when I was growing up and pass that on to the little ones and hopefully create another human being that's cool and can do some stuff. Anyway, I don't know of any cameras that do this. I know you've got your Barbie cameras and you've got your Lego cameras and I'm sure Fisher-Price has something.
Toy Story cameras.
Oh, the Toy Story cameras. But they basically are little video things that take a little video still. So yeah, the quality's going to be bad. I really don't. Maybe you could, seriously, I know it's a 4-year-old, but you got some rugged cameras out these days. You have the ability to get some of those, but they're not digital SLRs, but I know Canon makes it. I know Nikon makes a shockproof camera, and I know Olympus does, and Pentax. So I would get one of those waterproof, shockproof cameras and let the kids shoot that. I would tape over all the buttons on the back and just allow them to take pictures. Put it into whatever mode you can. Ooh, that's a great idea. What a good idea, Steven. Nice job. That's what I would do. Did I really not format that card?
I don't think you did.
I don't think I did either, but was it recording all along?
It was, yeah.
I love it. So what happens is Steven goes over to that camera, the D4, and looks inquisitively at it. And when I know if he's looking inquisitively, I know something's going on. I got to be careful.
Well, luckily, I just went over there to check real quick just to make sure we still had 10 minutes left, and it was down to 30 seconds, and I'm like, what is going on?
Oh,
and I restarted, and it restarted about 2 minutes, so I knew the card was about out of space.
And this is why I want a Blackmagic that records into hard drives and allows us to shoot full time without any... What was that? Oh, stop playing with my knives, Steven. because that reminded me of like live view shutting down. I know I keep digressing and people are going to probably yell at me. But yeah, I want that black magic stuff so that we can mix it all into one board. It can record right to the hard drives. You can have unlimited record time as long as the battery's lasting, as long as you have the hard drives. So my answer for you, what?
It will be nice.
Oh, and it makes Steven's job editing easier because it's all edited on the fly.
So much easier.
Yep. So Lindsay, I would find one of those rugged cameras that any of the companies make and give that to the kid. James Singer, do you need to work for a publication to get a press pass? I've heard of people making their own business lanyards and somehow getting away with walking into the pit with them. Well, that depends on the security guard. Yeah, you most of the time need to work for a publication, or you're going to show up to a place. And is it good, Steven? Yep. Awesome. Or you're going to show up to a place and not be able to get in. I used to do this in high school. I was a high school photographer working for the school newspaper. I made my own press pass with my own photo cut into it and laminated it and had it signed by the photo editor. It was great. I made my own press pass and it got me into everything in school. I talked my way in. I didn't have to pay the $4 to get a ticket to go photograph the game, because why should I have to pay $4? I'm photographing. I'm public. I'm the press, damn it. So yeah, you can make your own thing. I suggest that you make your own anyway to have it so you look professional, but really you should work for a publication in order to get in. If people can sneak in and with making their own lanyards, then more power to them. Dave Harnett, Batman or Aquaman? Steven.
Batman for sure.
Yeah, I'm going with Batman because what the hell is Aquaman? What's he do? What's he do? Swim in the water? I don't even know what Aquaman does. I'm not a comic fan. You guys know that, so don't yell at me. But I think Batman's better than Aquaman.
Way better.
Way better. James Guest, how many hours is your camera in your hands during a typical day not working? Steven, is there a day where I'm not working?
Not really.
How many times on like Sunday or Saturday night at 9, if Meg's not over, even if Meg is over, am I texting you with an idea?
I think that's every day.
Every day I'm sending you ideas. I do the same thing with Ari, and I've been doing that for 10 years. I just get these ideas and I send them over. So let me tell you, if I'm not working, I'm not using my camera most of the time. But I did go to the zoo the other day with Meg, and it was... I took the D70-100 with the 70-200. I wasn't going to take it. I almost forced myself. I'm not going to take it. And then I was like, I'm going to take it, because if I don't take it, I'm going to feel like I'm naked and missing something. But I was naked. I was walking around the zoo without pants on.
But that's like me, though. I went to see the Postal Service on Monday night, and I didn't have a press pass for once, or a photo pass, and I felt like just naked. I just felt like I felt like I should have had my camera on me, but I actually paid tickets for that show and watched the entire thing without shooting it. It was weird.
It feels like you weren't doing your job.
It feels like I was like just sitting back doing nothing.
So how often is the camera in my hand? Like a lot of times I'm working on the website, I'm working on editing. We know that photography is mostly 85-90% of the time spent doing business and non-photo related things, editing. Look, if I'm, let's see, if I'm not a typical day, I'm not working, I'm not shooting mostly. So shooting for fun, I mean, maybe an hour or maybe even a couple minutes when I'm doing videos, whatever. That's it. I don't have much of an answer for that. Henrik de Rosette, what do you think about the new 80-400 VR2? I don't know. Think it's not a pro lens and a bit too expensive for regular hobbyists. In introduction price in euros is 2,600 freaking euros, which makes that over a $3,700 lens over there. Absolutely not. Do not buy this lens. And this reminds me that I need to go back to Alan, Steven, with days when you're not there, and I'll just go and film these videos again of me playing with lenses. We talked about that months ago.
We did.
I need to just do it. I need to get off my ass. I'm not being lazy. I just need to do it. So then we have more content to put up. That's a good idea, Steven. I need to go do that maybe tomorrow. What's tomorrow? Thursday?
Thursday, all day.
All day? I don't know. Anyway, no, you shouldn't buy that. Look into the 70-200 2.8. You'll be much happier, even as a hobbyist, or look into the Sigma as well. Shelly Sherwood, C-word. How much time are we at, Steven?
We're at about an hour exactly.
Oh, Jesus. And I have another page. Okay. Do you preset some of your camera settings before photo shoots, for example, metering, focus mode, or area mode? Also, is there anyone besides your family that inspires you? Did my family inspire me? I guess my mom did. Do you preset anything? Well, I preset for any shoot that I'm going out to do. I preset what I think the settings are going to be. I pick the focusing mode. Is it going to be continuous? Is it going to be single? Am I going to be in wide area focus? Am I going to be in dynamic focus? Am I going to be in white balance, which is always in auto, by the way. I leave that one in auto. So my focus modes, the basic things that I have control of is what I preset when I go out on a shoot. Tom Wright, how many photos should be expected for a birthday party gathering? A birthday party / gathering. That's a good question, but I don't go to a photo shoot telling people how many photos I'm going to take. I don't go chasing numbers. Don't go chasing waterfalls. Stick to the rivers and the streams that
we're used to.
That you're used to. Na na na. Anyway, I don't tell people how many they're going to get. You know, how many photos are you going to take? I'm going to take as many as it takes to get the job done right. If that's 20 to get the job done right, then I'm done at 20. If that's 200 to get the 20 best shots that I need, then that is what it is. Don't go chasing numbers. Don't go chasing numbers because you may just fill up your memory card. SIM card, Justin Bieber. Yeah, so no. Let's see. Yeah, I don't base it off of any numbers. Done. Daniel Johnson, or if it's a silent J, Janssen. Will the cream always rise to the top? Or do you have to network yourself and promote your work till you're just a nuisance? Oh, I get it. Like Sam Green being a pain in the ass. I just love busting on Sam. Don't take it too serious. No, the cream isn't always going to rise to the top. If you don't do anything to promote yourself or get out there, you could be the greatest photographer in the world and you could have the greatest photos in the world, but if nobody sees them or nobody knows who you are, then you're never going, I can't say never, there's no definitives, then you're probably not going to rise to the top. You have to put yourself out there into the world to make a difference, take a risk, take a chance. Reading Rainbow. It's in a book. It's Reading Rainbow, right? Take a look. It's in a book. It's Reading Rainbow. Levels?
You're good.
I can go anywhere. Take a look. It's in a book. It's Reading Rainbow. Hey, that had nothing to do about taking a chance. There was no take a chance. That's probably some other song that I'll sing. So no, you got to put yourself out there, man. Don't be too much of a pain in the ass, but you do have to be persistent. Marius GHERGHE. Herf. I'm going to call it Herf. Marius Herf. Marius, please tell me if I'm right. Hi, I am your Romanian fan, and I would like to ask you for some advice on how to choose a photography niche to specialize in. It's a good question, Marius. The answer is what interests you. If you see a niche, fill a niche. That's like see a need, fill a need. What movie, Steven?
I got nothing.
Robots.
I don't even know why you asked me anymore.
Robots is a great animated movie. Can you check that camera again? I'm feeling tentative now. Robots was a good movie. If there's a niche that you think that you are interested in, then see how you can exploit that and make it a success. And if I've also seen this in the internet world, that people exploit niches that they're not interested in, and I think they do a half-assed job doing that. So find something you are interested in, and what, did I get quiet and you're changing my levels? No?
Nope.
So really find that niche that you're interested in and just and go for it. That's really what it is. If something interests you, if it's dogs, then go do a dog photo shoot and go from there. Good question. Joe Neely, what's the proper way to use high ISO? Example, 6400 and up on a D7000. It's just ultra grainy. I'm not sure why it has this feature at all. Well, yeah, I mean, the camera's going to top out at a certain point. Like, I used to shoot the D7000 at 4000 ISO with 2.8 lenses. Better quality glass helps you get better quality images. Better light helps you shoot a picture at 6400 or higher in good daylight. See what happens, Steven, in good daylight at high ISOs.
What do you mean what happens?
You don't know the answer. You know the answer. Basically, what happens, you still get grain.
You're saying it'll be cleaner grain.
But it's much cleaner than if you're shooting at night in a dark area.
Then you get a lot of color noise and all that crap.
Exactly. So, really, why do they have these features? Because they do. They're useful in certain situations, and there's ways to cheat the system. There's ways to make it work. I'm just not going to go into all that right now, but they do have those settings because you can get great shots at 10,000 ISO, at 8,000 ISO. It's about getting the proper exposure. It's about using the proper lenses. Moving on, Cameron Pollock. I YouTube, blog, and run an upcoming and popular Facebook group and page, all designed around photography and helping photographers grow at all levels. My question is, I find it hard at times to say positive to push forward. How do you manage it to do, or do you suffer from doubt? And what do you do to keep going? Cheers. I'm always second guessing myself, right, Steven?
Yep.
I question a lot of things, and you take those negative comments to heart when you really shouldn't, when you've got 100 good comments and 2 bad ones. You have to just push ahead. I went through a period probably a year into the site where I was putting too much pressure on myself and I needed to relax more. I am a lot more relaxed, especially now that Steven's here helping with editing video. Have you noticed that, Steven?
I try.
No, have you noticed me being more relaxed?
Yes and no.
Yeah, exactly. I know, I'm tough. Even Meg, you know what Meg said to me at dinner the other night?
What'd she say?
She's like, I saw you at work. She's like, I saw how you work at work. I like how you interact with me in non-work mode. She's like, so don't act like you do at work with me the other way. I'm tough.
I want to see non-work mode.
Huh?
I want to see non-work mode.
You've seen non-work. You've seen me in the pit before. And I'm not that bad, Steven. I get very like, this needs to be done this way. Let's get this done. We need to do this. I get very like, we have a schedule to keep. Well, let's do it. And am I a dick?
No.
Sometimes.
Not
all the time.
You said it first.
But I don't do it in a bad way. I'm very respectful, right?
Yeah, you are.
So, yeah, you better say that. So you just need to push ahead. You need to calm down, take a step back, and just keep going on. Keep it on. Keep moving on. You need to keep on keeping on. Steven, what movie?
Oh, I know this one, but I don't.
Joe Dirt.
Joe Dirt.
Joe Dirt. Keep on keeping on.
Joe Dirt.
Garth Davies. If you had to replace Steven with a robot, who would you choose? R2-D2, Johnny number 5. You didn't need to put Short Circuit in there because I knew Johnny number 5. Steven didn't. Or Wally. Steven, who would you rather I replace you with? R2-D2, Johnny number 5, or Wally?
I'm probably going to say Wally because he has arms.
Well, so does Johnny number 5.
But I never saw that.
You need to go, and so does R2-D2. He just rolls on them. I love Wally to death, but Wally doesn't speak. He just makes beep bops and boop bops, And so does R2-D2 too. I think Johnny number 5 would be the guy that I would end up talking with. Johnny number 5 is probably the guy that I would replace you with. Could you be like, Johnny number 5? Be like, the locos kick your balls into outer space. Okay, moving on. Last couple questions and we'll wrap this up. Cameron Siemens. How do you quickly switch between lenses, filters, and such to get all the perfect shots? Shooting solo at a wedding seems like such a daunting task. I'm nervous about making the bride happy and try to get every shot she wants. Well, first off, I had this discussion on the roof with my neighbors the other day. They hired a photographer who is against having 2 shooters. He says that he can get everything himself.
He's against it?
He feels that he can get everything himself. And I called shenanigans, and I said, I know you hired this guy, but maybe try talking him into bringing a second shooter. It's not about being able to do everything yourself, because guess what you can't do yourself? You can't shoot the bride walking down the aisle for the first time and shoot the reaction of the groom. You can't get the reaction of the groom the first time he sees the bride because you're shooting the bride coming down the aisle. You cannot get every single angle. The important thing to having a second photographer is so that you can get multiple angles of the same shot, and it creates great dynamism, dynamafreakinism. There, butchering English language, and somebody's going to yell at me again. So how do I do it so quickly is I try to anticipate the scene and what I'm going to use. If I've got one lens on and I can't switch, then that's the lens that I use. But a lot of times I anticipate to have the right lens on. So I did a wedding myself in Florida once, and it was a low budget thing. They asked me to fly down, so I went ahead and I did it. And I had the 24-70 on, and it was going to be the kiss. So I took a wide shot right before they kissed. Right as they kissed, I took a wide shot. Quickly zoomed into 70, filled the frame as much as possible, and took a bunch of shots that way. Got up, walked to the back, took a wide shot from there. So I did so much on my own. You can do it, but you can do it. What movie? Every Adam Sandler movie. So, that is what I would say for that. Steve Talamantes. What is the one thing you wish you knew when you started taking photos? I think the one thing that I wish I knew is that it wasn't always about having the best work. It's not all about photography. It's about connections. and interacting with people and hobnobbing. And we learned that last week with Bob Gruen, how he talked about how he went and talked with everybody. He met this person and then he met this person and then he met this person through that person. It's about networking. So yes, fundamentals and learning photography is really important, but the one thing I wish that somebody told me up front or pushed me to do more was to get out there more, to be seen more. And that's what my website is. It helps me be seen as FroKnowsPhoto. So, yeah. Steven, how we doing? Good?
Doing good.
Thank you for being there. We put a mic over by the board now so that Steven can interact. I like that, Steven. That was cool.
It's way easier.
So I want to thank everybody for listening this week. Don't forget to subscribe on YouTube if you're watching there. Don't forget to subscribe on iTunes so you can get the audio, because I know some people like audio, some people like video. And don't forget that if you'd like to preview the FroKnowsPhoto Beginner Flash Guide, I'll be selecting a few people to send it to see what they think, to get some feedback, and see what they really see if they like it. So to do that, leave a comment on YouTube, leave a comment on Facebook. You can tweet me and say, hey, I'd like to review your guide, and I will be in touch with a couple of people to show you guys how you can listen to it, to watch the video, and give me some of your feedback. I want to thank Rokinon for giving us these lenses that we do have to send back for using on the Nikon today, and this one sitting right here. Rode is sending us some microphones. I can't wait to check those out. They've built-in pop filters. AllensCamera.com, BBO poker tables. I haven't mentioned in a while. They have the poker table with my custom logo. That's what we have here. You can check out their website there. And don't forget about the FroKnowsPhoto Beginner Guide to Getting Out of Auto. You can download that. It's a $67 download. But if you want to get the cliff notes to photography and start somewhere and get out and save yourself a ton of time trying to find all this free information on the internet, I put it all in one place for you, and I think it's pretty kick-ass. So that is it. That's going to wrap up episode number 41 of FroKnowsPhoto RAWtalk. Until next time, Jared Polin, FroKnowsPhoto.com. See ya.